Ever passing a balanced budget amendment? Thank you for that question, Charlie. The odds aren't great, but for the first time in history, for the first time since the last 15 years, we're actually going to have an up or down vote in both the House and the Senate on a balanced budget amendment. Straight up, no amendments, a balanced budget amendment. That's the game changer for me, and why I voted for the Budget Control Act. That one, having a balanced budget amendment in the Constitution, will force Washington, D.C. to live like every family and every small business in America does. You've got your money coming in, you know how much that is, you don't spend more than that. Unfortunately, we've taken that and run with that. This will get us back under control. I really encourage each and every one to reach out to everybody across this country, because it's a very high burden to get a constitutional amendment through. I mean, our founding fathers are very wise. They didn't want us messing with the document very much. And they want to make it very hard. So we have to get 2/3 in both House and Senate. So that means 67 senators and 290 members of Congress have to vote for it. So we're going to have to get some sort of bipartisan votes for the bill. And then we have to send it to the states. And 3/4 of them, 38, have to approve it. But again, this amendment, the balanced budget amendment, will make Washington, D.C. live like every family, every small business in America lives within their means. It's critically important that we get this done. Thank you, Charlie, for that question.
But Pete, that's against the Constitution. You can't hide.
I heard something crazy down there that said if you pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, that's against the Constitution. That's what we're changing the Constitution. If we get the amendment, it's part of the Constitution. Read the document, please. John DeSantis. Mr. DeSantis, where are you, Big John? Oh, right over there. John's right over here. John's question is, why do you block cap and trade regulations? Don't you recognize the seriousness of the present climate crisis? We have an unprecedented heat in Texas. It will only get worse if we do nothing. If you don't believe in climate change, just stand outside for a while. Maybe you should need to stand outside in the afternoon for a few hours and perhaps all wake up to the reality. Couple of points there. I'm still not sold about the science of climate change, and I was proud of President Bush not to sign the Kyoto Protocols that did include China and India in there, because they are the largest producers of hydrocarbon emissions. And any solution that doesn't take those countries and put them in there is not a true solution. And this will, the cap and trade, well, I call it cap and tax legislation that is not going to pass, it's certainly not going to pass in this Congress. It will kill American jobs and send them overseas. That's why I'm against cap and trade. Now the big thing we have to worry about is sometimes this administration doesn't seem to read the Constitution. And if the Congress doesn't pass a law, they seem to think that they can implement it with the executive branch agencies, in this case, EPA. Because of that, my committee passed a bill out of Congress that says, EPA, you cannot regulate greenhouse gases with the Clean Air Act. None. It's not part of the Clean Air Act. But as has become a problem up in Washington with this divided government, we've passed good bills, creating American jobs, eliminating all these excessive regulations which are killing American jobs, and people ask them, where are the jobs? They're sitting in Harry Reid's in basket. He's got them on his desk. If he will get those and bring them to the floor of the Senate, we start creating American jobs and get this country rolling again. Okay, Bill Murray. Where's Bill Murray? Mr. Murray. There's Bill Murray, right here in the front row almost. Bill's question is, voter registration cards should have photo ID. This should be a no-brainer, yet the Democrats consistently oppose this. Please discuss. Bill, I do believe that, voter fraud is the most, we've got some infringements on constitutional rights here, but voter fraud is one of the most grievous crimes you can do to the Constitution, because every illegal voter cancels out a legal vote. And if you take somebody else's vote, that's absolutely wrong. This is a state issue. We don't want the federal government making sure you're running our elections here in Texas, but our state tried to get the Voter ID Act in there. They got We're making progress here, guys, but this again is a state issue, but I do agree that we need to have some ID to be able to vote in this country. Prove you're here legally. Okay, Mary Ann Gehring. I hope I pronounced that right, Mary. Mary, you still here? There she is. Mary's way over to your right. Without being evasive and being very blunt, why in the world did you vote for raising the debt ceiling? Is there a good reason? Yes, there is, Mary. There's a good reason. Couple of things. I mean, first of all, I promised y'all that I wouldn't vote for anything that didn't at least get as many cuts as the debt limit extension, that did it without raising taxes, and that's what our bill did. I kept my word. Most importantly, there's a balanced budget amendment requirement in there. That's huge. That's a game changer. For the first time in 15 years, we're going to have votes in the House and the Senate on a balanced budget amendment. The other big concern I have, and this is a political concern, right now, the biggest problem for President Obama, the biggest challenge is being reelected, is the economy and jobs. As we talked about, his stimulus package, almost $1 trillion, has actually increased our unemployment rate. And none of us knew what would happen if we actually went into default on August 3rd. But if our country's economy went downhill, this president would put his arm around us and say, it was my problem, now it's the House Republicans' problem. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the American people realize that this is your problem, President Obama. You, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi started this thing. We're trying to fix it. And the best way to fix that is by giving you another address in 2012 and sending you back to Chicago. You can practice the politics you want to practice. Thanks for that question, Mary. Jerry Wells. Miss Jerry, where are you? Oh, there she is, way in the back, Miss Jerry. Her question, what infrastructure needs in our district will you fight to fund so that jobs can be preserved or created in our area, and will you work with the rest of the Houston area delegation to ensure we get the transit funds expected for the 5 rail lines that help us all in the region? A couple things there on infrastructure. Right now, there's a lot of things we can do in the greater Houston area. You guys should be very proud that you have a Texas delegation. I mean, we are A, the most conservative delegation, and B, when something's important to Texas, like NASA, like Pantex up in Amarillo, like Fort Bliss in El Paso, all across our state, if it's important to our state, every Republican, every Democrat comes together. And it happens here in the Houston area as well. The big thing we've got to be concerned with our infrastructure, in my opinion, we've got lots of challenges here, but the Panama Canal is being expanded and widened. And when that happens, all these ships that are stopping on the west coast of the United States are going to punch through that canal and come in the Gulf of Mexico. They're going to look for a place to offload those supplies, all those goods for our country. We want them coming to the Port of Houston. We want that trade. So we have to have the infrastructure. We've got to keep widening deep in the port. All of us at the Texas delegation are working on that, the Houston delegation, get it deeper, wider so we can handle these ships. That's one infrastructure thing. We need to have some more highway money, but we've got to fundamentally change the way we pay for that. The Highway Trust Fund is insolvent because it depends on a gasoline tax. And as you guys know, people are getting cars, getting more miles, we're using less gasoline. We're falling behind, we're having an incredibly big backlog, so we have to have some creative solutions. John Micah, our chairman, is working on it, and we believe that there has to be some sort of public-private partnerships, not just federal government dollars, because we don't have the money to repair our infrastructure. But working together, we can do that. Larry Hawkins. Larry Hawkins from Stony Brook. Where are you, Larry? Larry. Obamacare is costing a great deal of money administratively to America today. We need to repeal it today. What can you do to help make this happen? Time is money. Larry, we've done everything we could to repeal Obamacare. That was the first bill we passed. We took the new majority. We're going to keep passing it if need be. But the biggest thing we can do to repeal Obamacare is get a new president in the White House in November of 2012. Is that pronounced correctly, Kathy? Kathy Ruban, is that right? Kathy here? Well, we'll read Kathy's question. She's not here. Instead of playing the blame game, Republican, Democrat, Tea Party, when are you going to help us? The schools are a mess, only a few jobs available. Healthcare is incredible, the economy is sinking. I have 2 jobs, I'm working for a third. Why? Kathy, unfortunately, you're not alone in this economy, and I greatly appreciate your question, and I'm very sympathetic to your cause because I hear this all the time. Again, unfortunately, as we talked about what's happened in Washington, the party had used to be in power, and all 3 levers thought that government spending was the solutions. That is not the solution. The solution is having the government create incentives in the private sector, but turn the private sector loose because they will create jobs. They'll get this economy rolling again. We will get more revenue from start reducing our debt. Again, it's very simple. We've done this less than 1980. Ronald Reagan got elected president, came in with a Democratic majority, and he said, I'm going to fix this by giving the American people their money, let them make their decisions how it gets spent. Our economy will grow, and we'll start creating jobs instead of spending it overseas. David Corbin. There's Mr. Corbin. David's question, what are you doing to rein in the EPA and the NLRB and provide more oversight to these organizations? David, great question. I talked about the fact that we passed a bill out of committee, out of the House, preventing EPA from doing the greenhouse gas emissions, cap and trade under the Clean Air Act. Again, that's one of those jobs bills that sit in Harry's in basket. We're going to have a jobs agenda coming up this next Congress. We get back here in a couple of weeks, and we're going to focus on all these regulations that are killing America's ability to compete overseas. I mean, again, if we get the government out of the private sector's way, we will start growing our economy again. We will create jobs, and we'll get back on track and restore the American dream. Albert Bond. Albert's question. With all the budget cuts taking away money from public education, what do you intend to do to keep Fort Bend education the same quality as it has been? Albert, again, the primary government to take care of education is the state government of Austin. And President Bush, whom I love, but he did this No Child Left Behind and increased the federal government's involvement in local education. And it hasn't been a good idea. It hasn't worked. I've talked to many superintendents across the district about how this impacted them. They said, well, Pete, I've got to spend all this time jumping through the hoops for the state, for the TEA, but it's good. And they're keeping track of us, making sure we get things done. But now the federal government's coming and said, if you want money, you've got to jump through a whole different set of hoops. Why can't we trust the states to educate their citizens? Why does the federal government have to have a one-size-fits-all mentality? I guarantee you that Jimmy Thompson will take better care of your needs than Bob Hebert will up in the county government, than Rick Perry will up in Austin, and that Barack Obama will up in Washington, D.C. Local control works, and the lower we load it, the more education control at the local level will fix this problem. Michael Gould. Michael, where are you, Michael? Okay, Michael's way back there in the back. You voted to cut budgets, jobs, and programs for the middle class while protecting the banks of billionaires. Who's signing on, us or the billionaires? I'm on the American people's side, quite frankly. And again, we're the only ones who passed the budget in Washington. In fact, in the 2.5 years I've been in Congress, Harry Reid-led Senate has not passed the budget. We talked about this tidal wave of debt, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, which are drowning our future prosperity. Who's the only body in Washington who's been responsible and said, we have a solution? Republicans. The president, some of these things about taxing the rich and this sort of class warfare is one question I have. How can taxing the job creator help the job seeker? If we're going to get out of this economy, we need to let the American people, all American people, keep their money, get that back to the private sector, let them invest in their business, and start turning this country around. Paul Puente. Paul Puente, where are you? fault. I hear somebody saying, where's my job? You need to talk to Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Harry Reid because they sent their jobs overseas when they were in power. And we are taking initiative to bring those to keep American jobs here. There are many ways we're going to do that. We're going to increase American sources of energy, create great paying jobs, do some pension upon foreign oil. We're going to make the tax code fair. It's part of the Pledge to America. The highest tax rate for any individual, any corporation is going to be 25%. More of your money in your pocket. That's what's going to create jobs and turn this economy around. And Paul, I got to also say, I got to be honest on the facts here. You heard the president and his party, when this debate was going on, say that this corporate jets tax, we need to eliminate that. Whatever you think about that, you need to know that it would take, it's a start on a 5,000-year job. It's going to take 5,000 years of ending that tax break just to pay down the deficit from 1 year to this present. It was not a real solution. The American people need leadership. They need another person in the White House. They need another one in the Senate. Okay, gang, we having fun yet? Okay, James Oz. Where's James Oz? James Oz. Oh, there he is. Over there. Okay, James' question is how we strengthen and reinforce the GOP commitment to true conservative values, not just election cycles. You guys are doing that by being here today, by standing with your elected officials, asking hard questions, and please keep doing that. Because the greatness of America, the thing our founding fathers fought for, was a government where the people were the power, that the people who are elected have to stand before them 2 years in my case, 6 years for a Senate, and get reelected again. You guys, you've done a great job, and one thing I want to say about the Tea Parties is we've got many people, and you'll hear them trying to squelch me now, the Tea Parties are healthy for America. Whatever you think about their politics, they were average, everyday citizens who saw a problem in Washington, particularly the out-of-control spending, and said, we need to get involved in our government. And if everybody in America would do that, our country would be much better off. And so my hat is off to you, all you members of the Tea Party. You are good for the American democracy. Betty Ann Hurley. Miss Betty Ann, where are you? There she is, right there. Betty Ann, your question, what is the House of Representatives doing to support Israel? What we're doing, Betty, is we'll do the appropriations bill. I can assure you that Israel gets all the money they need to fund their defense. But unfortunately, this will be a common theme. The best thing our country can do to support Israel is put another occupant in the White House in 2012. And this president has done more in 2 years. When Israel declared its independence in 1947, 1 minute after they declared it, Harry Truman, the United States was the first country to step up and recognize Israel's right to exist as a nation. And we've kept that commitment for almost 60 years now. And unfortunately, this president has, you guys saw what happened when Prime Minister Netanyahu flew out here to talk to the president. The president said that we're going to support the 1967 map. That's a map that ensures the destruction of Israel. Yeah. And President Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu landed here and got that handed to him. Hey, welcome to America. We're doing everything we can to destroy your country. Israel is our best ally in the world. They're our best ally in a very dangerous war in the world. We should stand by Israel, stand by them, stand by them, stand by them. Chad, any proof that the Bush tax cuts have created jobs in the past 8 years? Yes. And the proof of that is President Obama agreed to extend the tax cuts for another 2 years after he took the shellacking in November of 2010. Again, it's been proven time and time again, you give the American people their money, let them make their decisions how they're going to spend it, how they're going to grow their business. They will grow their business, they will create jobs, they will pay their taxes, our deficit will start going down. We will get this country back on track. Washington doesn't have a budget problem, a money problem, we have a spending problem. Vicki Kaufman, and this is just another example of, these are bipartisan, these aren't cherry picking here. Vicki's question is why are Republicans just now, underline, stressing over the debt ceiling when they raised it routinely during George W. Bush's administration? That's a good question. I mean, the real difference, the reason that the American public, it's not Republicans, the American public are concerned about the debt ceiling right now. I mean, in 2010, February 2010, President Obama asked for and got a $1.9 trillion extension of debt limit. Every Republican voted against it. 15 Democrats joined us on the House side, but still they had a majority. They rammed that through. He got it, a naked debt extension with no offsetting cuts or savings. What's happened since that time? What's the game changer? November 2010. We got a new majority in the House of Representatives. A majority who said, you know what, Mr. President, you are not going to get another naked debt limit extension because when you've been at the helm, we've had as that slide earlier, the two largest increases in our annual deficit have happened under this president. Yeah, the first 2 years, his first 2 years equals all 8 years of any previous president. The reason we stood up now is because this guy in the White House is driving our country off the cliff. We've got to stand up now and start tackling this debt situation. And again, the only way we're really going to fix it is if we're willing to tackle the entitlement programs, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. One body in Washington has been responsible in taking on those problems. That is your House of Representatives. We have passed a budget which reforms Medicare, which reforms Medicaid, and we are still waiting for Barack Obama and Harry Reid to send us a plan. I have one question to those of you who think that Republicans are trying to kill Medicare and Medicaid. Where's your plan? Where is your plan? You bring a plan to the table, we can talk. But until the Republicans are the only ones having a plan, there's no reason to talk. We're going to do what the American people want. Bring us a plan. Go to Harry Reid and say, Mr. Reid, give the House Republicans a plan. Give something to debate about. President Obama, give us a plan. Don't demagogue on the sidelines. Dan Farrell. Woo! Dan Farrell, what can be done to stop the outrageous spending subsidies of wind, solar, and ethanol production? These only distort the economics of practical energy sources and mess up our deficits. Amen. Amen, Dan. I mean, one thing we have to do with our tax code, again, part of our pledge to America, again, we talked about the 25% upper limit for both individuals and corporations. We also have to make it more simple and get rid of some of these crazy tax breaks. Again, our president, again in this debate, no budget, no real solution to this problem, to the debt ceiling, demagoguing on corporate jets and the big 6 oil companies. I mean, you can't tax 6 oil companies under our Constitution. You can't propose a program to kill corporate tax incentives that will solve just 1 year of the problem in 5,000 years. This president needs to step up and give us the leadership that the American people are demanding. And again, the only way we can really control the outrageous spending, these subsidies, is to put a new Republican majority in the Senate and a new president in the White House. I can't emphasize that enough. Nancy Hochschild, are you aware that privatization is destroying real business and the middle class? Nancy, I just disagree with that completely. I mean, the government being involved in business is destroying the middle class. I mean, again, the president, when they first took charge, they ran through a $900 billion economic stimulus package. It was Barack Obama's plan. It wasn't stimulating Wall Street. He doesn't like Wall Street. It was money that was being, it was stimulating government. Most of that money went to government jobs. You don't create jobs in America by funding the private sector. You create jobs by funding the private sector, not the public sector. Barack Obama, Harry Reid, need to listen to American people. Start getting the private sector rolling. Get the government out of the business, out of their families. David Troiano. Where's Big David? David. Rory, David. Well, we'll look at this question going anyway. David's question is, given the high-tech level of corporate profits already, what made you believe that cutting taxes will produce item to hire more people, them to hire more people? It's proven. Every time we cut taxes in America, people reinvest their money in their business. Right now, because of all the uncertainty this administration has created with these regulations, the out-of-control regulations, I mean, the great example of it is the moratorium in the Gulf. When they overreacted, they shut down 33 rigs out there, deepwater rigs. Took about 8 months before they finally opened up the drilling again. In that meantime, 10 of 33 rigs affected by that moratorium went overseas. Good paying American jobs. These young men and women working on these rigs, they can go to high school, maybe go to a community college for 2 years, get working on those rigs, 10 years on the rig, they're making 6 figures, $10,000. These are great paying jobs, developing American source of energy, and our president, because of his policies, his hostility to fossil fuels, sent those jobs overseas. Some of you are saying, where are the jobs? The jobs are overseas. Barack Obama, Harry, Nancy Pelosi sent them away from America. The Republicans in the House are going to bring them back. Kevin Holmes, Mr. Kevin. You guys hear this up? You're not good singers. All right. Kevin Holmes. There's Kevin's question. Kevin is, who controls the EPA? Kevin, that's Carol Browner. They're right, the jobs are overseas with this administration. Right now, the jobs are sitting in Harry Reid's Invest. First of all, I'd like to thank that lady who was unfortunately had to leave the event. She's done more to invigorate new conservatives, new Republicans than I could do in 2 years. So thank you. What you doing here, Liz? Chris Malone, where's Chris? There's Chris. Chris's question is why support the debt deal with the super committee being part of it and the committee recommendation tax increases we support it. Chris, I went by why I support it. I mean, it's the first time in our country's history that we actually got more cuts than the increase of debt limit, no tax increases, and the balanced budget amendment. That's why I support it. I'm not real comfortable with the super committee. I think that's, that should be all of Congress, but unfortunately we've proven for 40 years that we can't get this done. So we're resorting this thing. If there's tax increases, again, it's not a start. I mean, America doesn't have a revenue problem. We've got a spending problem. And more taxes isn't going to solve that problem. That's put more gas in the fire. Ed Burnson, where's Ed Burnson? Here's Ed's question is, when is the Senate? Woo! Man, oh man, if I could answer this question, you and I would be just out there, we'd be in high cotton. Ed's question is, when is the Senate and Congress going to start doing their job instead of crying about their party? That's what I'm asking about, Harry Reid. Please, Senator Reid, send us a budget so we can start doing the work of the people. Step up and do generations had them. Stop demagoguing about corporate jets and all these other things. I mean, again, we're trying, we are being responsible. We're doing what the American people want to do on the House side. Please, please, please contact Terry Reid, contact Barack Obama and say, Mr. President, Majority Leader, step up to the plate. Show us your plan. Where is your plan?
He doesn't have one.
Rick Works. Rick's question here. Where are you, Rick? There's Rick's out of front row here. What are some practical steps to make or measures we can support as voters to get the size of government, our fiscal house in order? How can we help make them happen? It comes down to November 2012. Get out there and vote. Get your friends out there and vote for the conservative. Vote. We've got many great candidates out there on our side of the aisle. Any one of them is better than the man we have in the White House right now. And one of the other reasons I voted for the debt limit, the Budget Control Act, was my concern that if our current president gets another 4 years not having to worry about re-election, he will take our country down some road that we'll never, ever be able to recover from. We have to get this man out of office in 2012. We have to restore the American dream. The way we do that is by turning out and voting. So please, 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 get out and vote in November 2012. Kathy Taylor. Miss Taylor, where's Miss Kathy? There is Kathy Taylor. Her question is, during the budget crisis a few weeks ago, it was a lot of talk about cutting salaries of government employees. Since members of Congress are government employees, what % of your salaries was cut? I can't speak for the Senate side. What I can tell you, Mayor, we've done on the House side is part of our pledge to America was to reform the spending in government. And one of the first things we did on the House side is we took a 5% hit on all of our budgets. And that's not a lot of money. I mean, that's not going to fix our debt problem by any means. But it was an important gesture, we thought, that we actually, let's cut some, if we're going to ask the American people to take cuts, why don't we take some cuts? And we followed that up. That was just right as part of the Pledge of America. Now we're passing the appropriations bills, the legislative branch appropriations bill. We're going to take another 6.2% off our budgets. So 11.2% in this time. And I got to tell you, Speaker Boehner, one of the things I admire about him is he really wants to restore the House, the faith of the American people in the House. And we were having this talk about cutting this 6.2%, and some members said, you know what, that is going to hurt me. That cuts my budget to communicate to my constituents or keep somebody employed. I mean, it's a big deal, and that is important. But Speaker Boehner, God bless him, at one of our meetings just started banging. He's not a very emotional guy. He said, we're asking the American people to take significant cuts. We here in Washington should do the same. That's why we're going to cut our budget by 11.2%. We are doing that. What is Harry Reid and the Senate doing? Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And I can assure you, I make enough money for the rest of my life being a member of Congress. I will vote against every increase in pay for Congress because we don't deserve any more increase. We have the money we have. Okay, Alan Merrill, where's Alan? Okay, Alan's question is, Tea Party members do not want the debt ceiling raised because we no longer trust Congress to be responsible with our money. What are you going to do to restore that trust? It's going to come up in the next 4 months. I mean, we've got this super committee, 12 members from both sides, and they're going to have to come up with some recommendations to at least get $1.2 trillion, $1.5 trillion in cuts. If they don't do that, this thing called sequestration will kick in and there'll be automatic cuts across the board. That's kind of the hammer. Unfortunately, we've proven over 40 years that Washington can't fix the problem unless we do these drastic measures. So I'm optimistic. Jeb Henson's a good friend of mine. We both work for Senator Phil Gramm. He's the co-chairman of it. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen with Jeb Henson and all the House members. But we have to get somebody from the other side to listen to the American people and cross over and realize that the key to our future depends on us tackling these entitlement programs and cutting the size of government. Y'all should be proud of what's going on in Washington right now. I mean, your Republican majority, the ones you elected, we have changed the tone of debate in Washington. Washington, since my lifetime, has always been talking about how much can we spend. Now, even President Obama is saying, how much can we cut? But just one more example of how this president is not taking this thing seriously, this demagoguing. You might have heard of some sort of thing about a super deal. About a month before the bill was finally passed, where he was actually, we got the, $2.4 trillion in cuts and savings. He was proposing $4 trillion in cuts and savings. But how was he going to pay for that? 1/4 of that was going to be increased taxes. I mean, again, Washington doesn't have a budget problem. We have a spending problem. It's time to rein Washington DC in. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end here. Ernest White, what motivates you as a legislator? In your opinion, does this hold true for most legislators you work with? I can tell you the two things that motivate me, have motivated me to get in this race, will always motivate me. My wife Nancy was here, she left a while ago, but we have these two beautiful gifts from God. My 14-year-old daughter Kate, I should say that, my 14-year-old daughter Kate and my 11-year-old son Grant. I came back home to run for Congress because looking at what was going on in Washington, I realized that the greatest threat to their future was the out-of-control spending of the federal government. And they would have, that there's a real risk if we don't keep this under control, that they will be the first generation in American history that will be less well off than the preceding one. And that is un-American. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that my children and your children have a better life than we've had. Which if I can accomplish that, I'll hit my target and I can go home to the Lord and hold my head up high. We need to stand up right now and have the courage because we are at a crucial time. We can't keep kicking this can down the road. We've kicked it down too much. We have to stand up right now and have the courage to tackle these entitlement programs, make the tough decisions. We are doing that in the House. Again, the Senate hasn't passed the budget in the 2 years I've been in Congress. They haven't come forward with a plan to address this exploding debt. They've been content to sit there and say the Republicans passed this budget, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And again I say, what is your plan? Please bring me a plan, Harry, Barack Obama. Bring something to me. Let's do what the American people want to do. Until then, if you want to sit on the sideline, just sit on the sideline and let us take over and let us run America. Okay, we're down to 2 more questions. Mike Maloney, where is Mr. Michael? Mike's right here on the right side here, your left. How can we stop Obama from issuing these executive orders? Yeah, we can't do that. I mean, he can write executive orders. The way we do that, it's real simple. November 6, 2012, we make sure that he goes to bed that night going, man, I was a one-termer. Fun ride, but it's over on January 12th, 20th. Some new president, one Republican can stand there with his right hand up, his or her right hand up, look at Chief Justice John Roberts and take the oath of office. That is the way we stop all this.
Solution of dicks. breaking.
Word to your mother.
So I'm pretty sure you've all heard of YouTube, and you've all heard of Rebecca Black. If you haven't, you obviously haven't heard of YouTube. I mean, she's got 113 million views in about 2 months. I mean, the top 10 most viewed videos have, I mean, number 10 has only 160 million, so this girl in 2 months has done what a lot of videos have taken years to do. Videos like such like Evolution of Dance, or even Shakira's theme video for the World Cup. So, I mean, how does someone get 113 million views in 2 months? It's ridiculous. I mean, if you really think about it, if someone becomes partnered on YouTube, usually if you go to their page, there's a little in the next to the subscribe button, there's a little banner or something like that, or if they're always trying to get you to subscribe and stuff, they're probably partnered. And if they upload videos like every day, definitely a partner. But I mean, those guys can make $2.50 to $5 every 1,000 views. So I mean, someone with Rebecca Black, with 113 million views, makes a good chunk of change. This 13-year-old girl has made over $1 million, theoretical dollars, from YouTube. It's ridiculous. I don't know. This overnight celebrity is. I mean, I really think it's. I mean, it's good for bands and stuff like that, and I guess video or movie makers, short video short makers and stuff like that to upload these to YouTube, Vimeo, and stuff like that. It's like get their stuff out. But I mean, when someone gets a viral video like that, I mean, imagine going from a nobody to a somebody overnight. That, and I mean, I think this celebrity is not a particularly good thing for young people, especially people 13, 14, 15 years old, with a viral hit, because I mean, it's just, with the internet, the anonymity on the internet is ridiculous. I mean, you could make a completely fake profile. So I mean, some of the things you see on the internet, especially YouTube videos, people that have actually dedicated channels or stuff, like when Rebecca's Black video has some extremely nasty comments, that including death threats. And it's just, I think YouTube and viral videos and stuff like that it's definitely a dangerous place, especially for someone so young who hasn't who can't, everything is so literal to them, and just things like that. So, I mean, and YouTube's core membership, I would say, are middle school, high school, and college kids. It lets, that's the demographic that's on the computer the most. I mean, with school nowadays, papers are all done online. You can find, you got Facebook and all that stuff. Now it's linked to YouTube. I mean, it's definitely a growing market. I mean, the typical demographic of YouTube, I mean, is kind of, especially with the internet and computers becoming cheaper, and it's definitely opening up, but it's typically 12 to about 25, middle class, both male and female are all over YouTube. It's not very, it's just that, I guess the best way to describe it is 12 to 25-year-old middle class kids. That's who YouTube is. Every once in a while you'll get someone who makes like a business channel, they run their advertisements, or someone who's making short, like comedic shorts and stuff like that would, but I mean, that ratio of kids to an actual business user, I guess merchant user of YouTube is so high that it's those almost don't count. So I mean, if you think about it, so these 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, sit there and troll YouTube, and it's not that hard. It takes one click to share a link, share a video, goes to your Facebook, goes to your Twitter. There's easily 400 people will see it. Generally, maybe 1/8 we'll even go with a small number, 1/8. We'll pass it on. That's 50 people. Those 50 people forward it to their 400 friends, and so on and so forth. That's, I guess, it's kind of easily conceivable that, you know, if you got a good video, viral video is definitely in your future, which can actually make you some change. Unfortunately, viral videos are usually one-hit wonders. Everybody's always trying to post a second video and never really capitalizes. Charlie Bit My Finger, Charlie Bit My Finger again. Just wasn't there. Evolution of Dance, 170 million views. Evolution of Dance 2 didn't even break 200,000. So it's just, you know, I think these YouTube phenoms and viral videos are, I mean, it's definitely, it's like that like awesome movie when, you know, they beat the dead horse, making 4, 5, 6, 7 sequels out of it, and it's terrible. It's shit. So, I mean, there's people that have solely made their living off of YouTube. You ever heard of Daniel Tosh? He actually has a show on Comedy Central called Tosh.0, and that's what he does, is makes his living off of YouTube. He takes YouTube videos and, you know, he'll critique them, or, you know, just makes comedic jokes about them, and, you know, like, his breakdown is he'll take a video and it's what it is. He'll make 10 minutes worth of jokes out of a 45-second video. So, I mean, he's got an actual TV show. He's got a YouTube channel. I mean, people make a living off of this. I mean, a YouTube partner, someone, you know, who YouTube believes they have enough traffic to warrant advertisement on their page. I mean, they get paid part of the cut from the advertisements. I mean, they can make anywhere from, you know, $2.50 to $5 every 1,000 views. Or I think it's like 5 cents for every 1,000 channel views. So, I mean, you don't even have to watch their videos. You go to the page and they're making money. I guess, you know, because it gets YouTube that traffic, it gets the advertisers who are advertising on that channel traffic, or who are just advertising on YouTube. So, I mean, I guess it's a win-win for everybody. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of these viral videos are, you know, comedic in nature. Rebecca Black's video, not comedic in nature, but a lot of people, you know, it's you know, they don't have nice things to say about it. It has 600,000 thumbs up, which, you know, is people liking the video, and has over 2.5 million thumbs down. People complaining about the lyrics, you know, but what people don't realize is, you know, YouTube's making money, Rebecca Black's making money. So even the fact that they're tearing this girl down on the internet, you know, spending 45 seconds posting hateful comments on it, you know, which are easily deleted, easily ignored, easily deleted or easily ignored. I mean, they're still making money. It's like watching TV and complaining about a TV show. Well, what do you, I mean, you can complain about all you want. That TV channel's still making money. Those actors are still making money. But I guess it's people's opinions. Daniel Tosh has a comedy. Daniel Tosh has a show on Comedy Central called Tosh.0, and it's a stand-up comedy. I mean, his video or his show is completely computer generated. It's him standing in front of a green site or a green screen, and everything you see on the video is computer generated. He just stands in front of the audience and I guess makes fun of his videos. I mean, that's over 2 million views a day. That's over $250,000.